Hello everybody, welcome back. This is Georgiana with Expressions Craft Studio, and today we're going to be making a couple versions of these Lattice Fold cards. Now you've probably seen them, they've been around for a while. I've designed this one in Design Space after going out and looking to find what they had. I couldn't find one in Design Space, but if you've looked in there, you know there are thousands upon thousands of images, and it may be there. I just wasn't able to find it with the search criteria I was using. So I just designed my own, and I have created a couple templates. Let's switch over to the work surface here. And we're going to cut these out. Now I'm not going to make you watch that, but I did have to adhere my mat today, and this is what I use in case you haven't seen this before. It is a Zig two-way glue marker, so it goes on wet, and if you let it dry then it is repositionable or tacky. If you put something on there while it's wet, it's permanent. But this is what I do so I get the most use out of my mats. And this is the paper I'm going to use today. Now I don't normally like to cut my card out of a piece of decorative cardstock like this because I want to get the most bang for my buck, but I have a lot of cardstock and I really need to start using it. And I'm pretty sure I bought this at Joann's because I have 5 pieces of it, and that's generally how I would buy it at their sales. And as you've probably heard, Joann's is going out of business, essentially are out of business. They're just selling off the remainder of their stock. So sad day for me. They are my favorite craft store, have been for many years. The only one, well, I don't even have one close to me. I have to drive 2 hours to even get to one, 2.5 hours, but I'm gonna miss them. So and I'm sure lots of others are as well. So anyway, this is what we're going to use today. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I got it at Joann's years and years ago. 2014. That's how long I've had this. So what I was saying is I don't normally like to use something this decorative so that it's going to be on the back too, or you can't see it, but I'm going to go ahead and make the exception today because I can, because I have it and I like this design over here. So I'm going to load my mat. I'm going to cut out, let's go back to our design here and let's go over what we're going to do. So I'm actually, when I designed this, I designed it so that you've got 3 different matting options. You could obviously do whatever you want. And this particular one, I've just left it here on the front, so it won't actually be on the fold. But I have gone ahead and designed it. Let me minimize this a little bit. So that I'm going to cut one out like the one that's above, and I'm going to cut one out with the lattice on the fold. And these are just some designs that I found in Design Space. I'm copying a card that I saw somewhere on the internet. I apologize. I clicked off of it onto something else and I lost it, and I haven't been able to find it again. But that was the inspiration, was to some unknown creator on the internet. So I'm going to kind of try to duplicate that today. It's not going to be exact, but it'll be, the overall concept will be the same. So I did download some different vines, and then I'm going to place flowers along the vines. One of the issues I have with cutting paper and cardstock is the thinner it is, the less clean a cut you get, or at least that's what happens for me. So one of the things I did, because I really like this little flourish here, I took it and I offset it, and so I just made these stems, these thin points, a little bit thicker. I'm going to offset it and apply. It kept my sizing up there, so I'm just going to hit apply, and you can see now this is going to be a little easier to cut just because the stems are a little bit thicker. So I don't actually like that one. I don't like the way it finishes off over here, so I'm going to delete it, and I like this one up here a little bit better, so it probably had a slightly smaller offset. This would also work. And then the flowers I opted for were, the original one I believe was a 5-point flower, and it wasn't shaped exactly like this, but it kind of came up, swooped in to a point and swooped back down and around. And I like that shape, but I couldn't find it because when you go in, there's lots and lots of flowers. Here, let me show you real quick. This is going to be long, I'm going to warn you now, but at the end we'll get to putting the card together, and I'll put chapters in here so you can fast forward if you like. So to go into shapes, I did, oh, I don't want shapes, I want images. I did a couple of different searches for flowers, and I ended up on the pointy flower search, and then the 5 petals flower I also searched for. But you can see there's 13,400 that came up with pointy flower, which I spelled wrong. 13,930. So one way to narrow that down, because you will see a lot of duplicates in here. I don't understand why that happens, but it does. It happens quite frequently. So I don't want a print and cut, and I don't want to draw. I just want a cut flower. I've got lots of cardstock scraps. I do not need to print and cut anything else. And I wanted, the flower that was used had multiple layers, so I'm going to select multiple. But before I do that, you can see we went from over 13,000 images down to 9,791. So now we add multiple, and it drops to 3,305. So slowly but surely, by being, you know, very particular about your settings, your preferences, you can change and reduce the number of images that you're looking for. And even here you could do it a little bit more. Paper cardstock, I don't think that'll change this much. But it did actually, it knocked off 3,000 more. So, or almost 3,000. So then you can just be looking at what you're looking for. So this actually was kind of the shape I was, well, this is even closer, but it was a 5-petal flower. But we're going to go ahead and use what we've got out here, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So let's get out of here. And I found this one, and it's 5 petals, and I kind of like it. It's a little plain, but it's okay. So this will be the back portion of the flower, and then I'm going to add this to the top to give it a little bit of extra dimension. Now, what I'm going to do is, I don't like that teeny tiny skinny center there. Well, first of all, let me weld that flower so it's one piece instead of two, and then, and I'm going to do the same with this one in the back. And then we're going to move it back toward the back. So then I'm going to take this one here, and I'm going to get me a circle. I always click the wrong one. I'm going to shape. I want a circle. I'm going to resize that. That's obviously too big. And I'm going to place it over here in the center of this flower. I probably can go a little bit bigger than that, but I do want to be able to add some dimension to these by kind of curling them up a little bit, so I don't want it too big. Let me just look at it here for a second. I think, you know what I think I could do? I could do an offset here, which will narrow this gap down here if I do it right. So offset, that's way too big. Still too big. A little bit more. Okay, apply. So I'm going to use the offset. So I'm going to get rid of this one, and now I don't need this circle. My flower, I'm not going to make it green, but anyway, you get the idea. I'm going to align and center those, and that'll be 2 pieces. Now you can leave it lined up with this smaller flower, the petals, you know, lined up symmetrically with the one underneath it, or you can turn them and get creative, which kind of looks better actually. So you have some options. I would have done something very similar with this one here. I would have added a big circle in the center and then placed a smaller flower over the top of it, maybe just a similar flower. So let's do that. Let's grab our circle again. I should have kept a copy of that. Let's bring that over, and that's pretty good. Let's center it up. Center. I think I want to make it a little bit bigger still. But before I do, I'm going to copy that red one before I start merging stuff together, and I'm going to copy that center dot there. So now We'll go a little bit more maybe. And let's center that up. So align and center. Okay, I like that. So I'm going to combine and weld. That's a pretty little flower. So now what I can do is I can take this one, I'm going to make it smaller, and let's change the color. Let's make it a little bit lighter. So let's go into advanced, and we're going to just kind of use see where our color pointer or selector is, and we're just going to kind of come over toward the white area to just lighten it up a little bit. That might have been a little too much. And you could use the same color if you want. This is just, you know, trying to add a little bit more detail where maybe none was needed. So let's make that a little bit bigger. I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to center everything up, align and center, and I'm going to combine and weld. And then I want to go into the contour screen, because let me see if I can blow this up a little bit. I don't know that I want it to go all the way in there that deep and cut, but because it's cut through right there, it is going to do that. So that's okay. I'm going to leave it. Now, if you're having trouble with cardstock and fine cuts, vinyl sometimes works a lot better. In fact, usually, at least for me, it works a lot better. But again, it's personal preference. It depends on the look you're going for, the materials that you have, because I always say use what you have. Don't buy more, especially in this economy with what's going on. You do not need to spend any more money. Just buy what you have. And if you do need to buy, or use what you have, I mean, and if you do need to buy something, and you are lucky enough to live in an area with a lot of thrift stores, check them out, because a lot of times people will donate craft supplies that they're not using anymore. So anyway, back to this. We're going to align both of these here and center them up. And then once again, you have the same option. You can kind of turn it a little bit if you want, which I think that looks really nice. And there you go. So I'm going to get rid of this one. I don't think we need either one of these anymore. Delete. Now that brings me to this one here, this blue one, which I think is beautiful. But there's a lot of layers. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I do not want to put 5 layers on these flowers, because I'm going to put like 4 or 5 flowers on each card. You can if you want to. I just don't want to. So a couple of options here. I can just let me ungroup it here, and I can just take these bottom 2 or top 2 layers, align them and center them, and I can do it that way. And so that's a cute little flower. Or I could take the bottom 2, and that's not even the bottom one, I don't believe. I think it's just, no, it's hard to get a hold of it. There we go. Is that bigger, or it's the same size? They've just rotated it. Okay, so yeah, they just made 2 copies of it and then flipped one of them over. Gotcha. Same with that one, it looks like, maybe. I would spin that, and we'll center it up, and then you could go in, well, no, that wouldn't work. I was going to say you could go in and contour out those little bitty holes, but because you're cutting those layers separately, that won't work, so ignore that. But yeah, so that's just another way. Now these flowers and the vines actually are all a part of Access, so if you don't have the subscription, you can still buy them, but you'd have to buy them all individually. Or you can find other sources. There are a lot of companies out there that make SVGs that you can import or upload over here. Or you can design your own, which we've done a little bit of that lately, and we can do some more in the future with using the free shapes. So you have lots of options. If you're not sure what they are and you have a specific question, just drop it in the comments below, and I will be happy to answer that for you. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut everything out, and then we're going to come back and we're going to just kind of start piecing everything together. All right, we've got the cards cut, we've got some flowers cut, we've got the vines or greenery for the background cut. I even grabbed some ribbons here that I might try. So we're going to put these together. Now I've gone ahead and folded the center seam of the card while I was waiting on other stuff to cut. So now we're just going to fold everything down. All of these cuts, in this case they're arcs or half circles or whatever you want to call them. So I'm going to fold them all down. Now if you can just make this a card front if you don't want to use a whole piece of cardstock there. I think I'm going to need to trim that one a little bit. Let's grab our little finger blade here, figure out where that's caught up. Looks like right there. There we go. Alright, so once you've done that, you're going to fold everything down and you're going to flip this tab underneath it up so that you can slide that under there. So we're just going to do that with every one. It kind of gets a little bit more hard to hang on to as you get toward the middle. There we go. Oops. And all right. Now you may choose to glue these down. You may not. That's up to you. I am going to glue this bottom one so that I can cut it off and make sure I get it lined up perfectly on the bottom. This is textured cardstock, so it might take a little bit more glue than I would normally like to use. I'm just going to hold that for a second. I refilled my glue bottle, so I want to keep my pen in it. Once that glue's dry, then you're just going to cut this piece right off, and I'm going to use my bigger scissors for that. And I just use the bottom of the card as a guide. There we go. And then you're going to take this piece that you just cut off of there. Can't pick it up. I have a Band-Aid. I had a cuticle emergency. And you're going to glue it right up under here. Now, I should have, apparently I grabbed the wrong file. I've saved it and resaved it several times. But you're going to want to glue this up here. And it should, if it were long enough, flip up underneath this piece here that I can't get a hold of. The other thing, and I thought about doing this but I didn't, was just cutting out a couple extra arcs just so I had one that was long enough to fit right there. But I didn't, so I'm just going to go ahead and glue this down. Got some tweezers here just to help me hang on to it. Now, the time I made these last time, I don't even remember where that card went, I ended up gluing this down wrong. So you do want to make sure that you've got the back side of the cardstock face up. And I'm just going to kind of slip it underneath there to start. Well, I could if I had put my tweezers in the right place. Okay. Alright, so theoretically, or not even theoretically, this flap here should come up over this cut piece that you just glued down, but I did something wrong somewhere. So what I would do to correct this in the future is I would just cut a separate arc out of here. and then use it up there. Now I do think I'm going to put some ribbon in here, so that will be a lot less noticeable. And at this point you can choose to glue these down if you want, or if you like it having a little bit of body to it, you can leave them the way they are. They will, as long as you burnish them, they will stay pretty flat. But you want to be careful that you don't end up lifting up and tearing in the wrong place. I did have, because I re-glued my mat, I did have some tearing on the back of this cardstock, which I tried to glue back down. So that's just one more thing to be aware of. So this one is going to be, on the fold, and I'll probably have the same problem with the measurement. I had fixed that, but then I was reusing the file, working on something else in there, and then saved over it accidentally. You know how that is. So we're going to start at the bottom, just because that's easier for me, I think. And just gently fold those all down. And again, we're going to glue this one at the bottom. There we go. Once that sets up, we will trim it. In the meantime, we can go ahead and start folding these under. And I'm just going to give all those little score and fold marks a good burnish. And then we're going to trim. All right. And then we're going to glue this one down the same way we did the other one. And again, you can see it's a little bit on the short side. Somewhere here I had some tweezers. Here they are. I also find that by folding the card down the center first on the ones that are on the spine, it does make it easier to refold it after you've glued it, or put everything, folded your lattice pieces. I'll get it in a minute. Ooh, I want one of my flowers. Two of my flowers. I'm gonna glue if I can get it in the hole. There we go. All right, so now because you folded these backwards, your previous score lines are going to want to go the other way, so you're just going to want to gently coax them into position. There we go. And again, just give it a gentle burnish. Now you have some other options at this point. Like I said, you could use lace through here. You could put another colored insert in here that would show through some kind of coordinating color cardstock. Honestly, you could do any number of things. It really just depends on what you want to, the look that you want to achieve. And that's all up to you. So I think we're going to go ahead and start decorating. Now I did cut out flowers. The biggest layer was about 3/4 of an inch. They're small. I had a hard time peeling them off my newly sticky mat, so some of them didn't work out that well, but I think once we get them glued down they'll be okay. So now we got to decide which one of our green stems do we like the best. That one's not bad. That one is okay. It might be not quite wide enough to my liking, you know, across the card that way. But it might work better on this card here. Okay, that's not bad. So I'll lay that off to the side. This was the one we used the offset on. And I like that. And then this one is just, you know, your typical leafy vine thing. So at this point, really, it's just about personal preference. And you could even flip it over that way if you prefer. But I think I like this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue a bunch of these flowers together, and then we'll come back and start sticking them on. And if you have a punch or die cuts, if you're going to make small flowers, that's probably a better way to go. But this is what I had in front of me, and rather than digging through hundreds of dies, I decided this was the way to go. So I'm going to glue these together and we'll be right back. All right, we are back again. I have curled up my flowers. Oops, there we go. Glued the two layers together, and we're going to just glue them down here now somewhere on this stalk. Now, you could do this however you want. I've gone ahead and glued these down. I chose the two that I like the best, and then you just glue these wherever you want. You've still got plenty of room for your sentiment right here. I've gone ahead and done the other one, and I've added some ribbon to it, and I'm still going to add something to the center of the flowers. Now, I'm not sure I have rhinestones small enough, but I have Nouveau glitter drops. I have Wink Estella in various colors. I have beads, small beads I could glue in there. So I have some options, and I will play with that to see how I want to finish it. But I will put a little something in the center of each one of those little flowers, even though it's pretty the way it is. So I did weave my ribbon through the lattice over here. This was a pretty stiff ribbon, and so I thought I left it long enough to make a bow, but I didn't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably put my sentiment over here, and I'll either glue those down and then trim them off, or I'll leave it one up and one down and trim them off and put the sentiment right there. And I'm going to leave the sentiment off for now because I don't know if I want to do happy birthday, happy Mother's Day, you know, it could be anything. So thinking of you, get well soon. You could still add something to the inside if you want, but I think it's okay the way it is. I think it'll be fine, so I'm going to leave that just like it is. I will add a sentiment over here, of course, and there you go. You have that. You can finish decorating it however you want. To glue these down, you know, obviously I figured out I figured out my placement first, and then I promptly went and moved everything. I like to put them kind of in the corners where things come together. So that's where I'll put a couple of them. And you can slide those one way or the other, however you like it. I'll maybe put one out here on this one. So I still have left plenty of room down here for a sentiment. So I'm going to lay something there to hold that still, and I'm just going to pick these up and glue them back down one at a time. And I will also finish these with some kind of embellishment in the center. These little tweezers don't always let go the way I want them to. Just going to give that a good press. Alright, so I'll take this one and put it over here. And oops, you could use glue dots if you want. You could use hot glue, although these are pretty small, so hot glue would be hard to be that precise. But you have options. Always you have options. Use whatever method you like the best and go with that. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but I did end up ripping off one of these little petals from the center portion. I don't care, I'm going to use it anyway. I don't think anybody's going to notice. And I didn't want to have to load my mat and cut out another one, so I weighed out my options and decided nobody was going to notice. Okay, let go. I debated about making the flowers yellow. I've got some yellow cardstock over here that I thought I might use because yellow and purple look nice together. But in the end, I just kind of going with something kind of monochromatic. Oh, I did that one backwards, but that's okay. By backwards, I meant I put it on the back instead of on the card itself. You can do it either way, obviously. So there we go, there we have it. I'm going to put my pen back in my glue. I think I said this earlier, I just filled it up, and so it's very volcanic right now. So here you have this one. And again, I'll put a sentiment here on the inside. And maybe I'll just make one of the sentiment inserts, which would be white. So I won't do that unless I do it over another layer, because I want you to be able to see the thing. So I probably won't do it. I'll just do one here. Yeah. So there you go. And you could add some more embellishments, rhinestones, whatever you like. You know, make it yours. Make it pretty. All right. I decided to go ahead and finish these up real quick. I pulled out my large everlasting sheet of sticky back rhinestones. I've had this forever. I'm sure I got it at Joann's years ago when I was still doing scrapbooking. And that's how I decided to finish off these. I used the dark purple. There were other colors I could have used. Could have used the clear. I could have used the lavender. I could have even used the black. The black would have looked nice. I like a lot of stark contrast, but I went with the dark purple, and I think that added the necessary bling that this card was missing. I'll probably add a little bit more. I have some brass butterflies from Stampin' Up! I'll probably add, or dragonflies. I have brass dragonflies that will look nice on there as well. But I'll definitely add some more stuff as well as the sentiment. On this one, I decided to go ahead and use the Nuvo drops to fill the center of each flower. And that's basically just like a glitter glue, and it does kind of give them a little bit of dimension. And I think that looks nice. So there you go. Minus the sentiments and probably a little bit more bling. Definitely be some butterflies or bees or something on there. I think these are done. So I would love to hear what you think. And guys, until next time, I hope you have a happy, crafty day.